Welcome to a more just and merciful world. I'm Kathy Humphrey, president of Carlow University. On this podcast, we talk to leaders, teachers, artists, historians, and scientists from around the globe to explore how to bring more justice and mercy to our own world. Today, I am honored to have with us as our guest, Bishop Mark Eckman. Welcome, Bishop.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. And I hear this is your first podcast.
It is.
How about that? I think we're in a good space. You feel good?
I do. I'm taking notes.
Okay, good. That's a wonderful thing. All right.
We might copy you.
All right. That's so wonderful. So today, I want a little bit of introduce you to our community. You are not a stranger to our community in so many ways. You have been with us in Mass. You prayed at our commencement. So you have been a part of the Carlow community. And I just learned that you are going to celebrate the Mass of the Holy Spirit with us at the beginning of the year.
Yes, in about 8 weeks.
Yes, so I'm pretty excited about that. The Mass of the Holy Spirit is a traditional Mass for Catholic universities. It begins the school year, and it is a Mass that we as a community come together for the first time to really pray about the beginning of the year. So I'm excited that you're going to join us on that front, and I'm looking forward to the message that you'll bring to our community on that day.
I can't wait.
Good. So let's start with just by helping people to know a little bit more about you. You are a Pittsburgh native.
Yes, I'm originally from the South Hills. St. Valentine was my home parish. I was baptized there, received all my sacraments, and even served there as a parochial vicar after I was a priest for about a year and a half.
Yeah, and our very own Sister Sheila was one of your teachers.
Well, she was, but that was later on.
Oh, that was later. Well, it's exciting to know that if you've learned from Sister Sheila, I'm sure you are exquisite.
Yes.
Right? And so did you ever leave Pittsburgh? Or you've been here the entire time?
My entire life, yes. I've ventured to Latrobe. That's as far as
it's Latrobe. But so you are truly a Pittsburgher through and through and through. So we're very fortunate that we get a bishop that really understands who we are as the Pittsburgh community. So how did you decide to become a priest?
That goes back to my roots at St. Valentine. I was taught by the Sisters of St. Francis, Providence of God. And one of our teachers in 7th grade was Sister Joanne. And she really just talked about prayer and how to pray and how to develop that relationship with the Lord. And that sort of planted the seed. And then later that year, we received the sacrament of confirmation. Mm-hmm. And Bishop Bosco was the confirming bishop. And on the back of his card, he had a prayer for vocations, and he just invited us all to pray that, and he said perhaps somebody here would be a priest or a nun, and so I did, and a few years later, I decided the Lord was calling me to that and entered the seminary.
So we talk all the time here about our students answering a call for their lives, that my hope is that they just don't come here and get a college degree, but they come here and leave here with an idea of what they've been called to do. They're not all called to the ministry, but I would say that that we all have some kind of ministry, but they're called to different things, to being a nurse, to being a teacher, to being a surgical technologist, to being a computer scientist. They're called to different things, but it is a calling.
Sure. Well, in order to respond to the call, you have to be listening. And so prayer has to be the foundation. It doesn't have to be formal prayer. I always tell people when they're learning how to pray, just pretend it's discovering a new friend. You know, when you have a new friendship is developing, what do you like? What don't you like? You know, what's your favorite food? You want to do this together. You know, you develop that relationship. And that's what we do with the Lord. We listen. And what do you want me to do? And, here's what I like to do. And the Lord will say, that's a great idea, or that's not such a good idea. You know, the decisions that we make, if we're basing them on prayer, we're usually going down the right path. So if that prayer life is there, then after that, when you start hearing the call or having interest in life, it's a lot easier to follow it and pursue it because you know that you're going down the right path, or this is what's going to give you satisfaction, or this is what's going to help you to serve other people, which I really think is what everybody wants to do. They want to help others. And in doing so, they're helping themselves to grow and to be more joyful.
Yeah.
So that call, I really feel the prayer is the basis, and then the call, it comes after that.
And so, Bishop, you make it sound so easy, but this is such a difficult task for a lot of people, is to be able to hear, because the prayer, it requires you to get alone. It requires you to listen. It requires you to ask, right? I'm thinking of Matthew 7:7 when it says, ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and the door will be open. And all of that has to occur in order for you to get to that, space and that place of calling. So when you say you need to pray, here's the hard question. How do you hear?
Well, you have to be quiet. You can't hear if there's a lot of noise going on. So whether that's the technology or turning off the ear pods, getting into a room that's quiet, just being quiet starts that. Because then you can hear what the Lord's trying to tell you. And then you have the opportunity to speak, but you have to listen. That's so key. And, really, that's really the basis whenever we attend our liturgical celebrations, whether it's Mass or any other type of worship service. It's always nice to go a little early and to settle oneself, to listen, perhaps read the scripture that you know is going to be presented, and to meditate a bit on that and focus. That little quiet time helps then to be able to listen to what the message is going to be.
Yeah. I believe that it is, callings are so deep-rooted that it even starts in childhood, right? I often talk about the fact that as a child, I loved playing school. It was my favorite activity. And I would play school even all by myself. I would have pretend students, and I would teach the pretend chairs. And I do think there are some leakages that are seeds that are dropped along the way that help reinforce this call. Because once you hear it, then you've got to accept it, right? And so the reinforcement of the call is really what gives you the confidence to start walking in that direction. Do you remember when you gained the confidence to start walking in that direction? So you have this prayer, right? And you move from this prayer to, I'm going to do it. Do you remember that transition?
Oh, I do. And I remember whenever I thought, okay, this is what I think the Lord's asking me to do. I was a sophomore in high school. So I was young, but I went to our parish priest and I asked him before Mass, I said, can I see you after Mass? And he said, sure. So I went there, and just the look on his face, he wasn't sure what I was going to say. And looking back, I think he thought I was going to say, I got a girl in trouble. Yeah, I really think he thought that's what I was going to say, because when I said to him, I think I'm being called to be a priest, it was like, oh, is that all? He was so relieved.
I bet, right?
So then he started talking about what the process was, that we had a high school program in the diocese. The men who were interested or thought they had a vocation met once a month, and we would do different things. We'd go Little Sisters of the Poor, or Auberley home, or McGuire home. We would do days of reflection just once a month, just to get to know each other and to continue to explore the call. They certainly were emphasizing that priesthood, if that's what your call was a life of service. So we were always in these adventures that were service-oriented. So that really helped to discern, to make that next step. And we had a retreat between junior and senior year of high school, and there were 55 of us that made that retreat. And out of that 55, 15 actually entered the seminary.
Wow.
And then we lost 5 the first year, so we went down to 10. Picked up 2, and by the time we were ordained, it went back down to 10. And 10 of us that were ordained.
So I'm taking my time here because I really think this is really important. And it's important because it's the core of our peace, and it's the core of our happiness is to find and walk in our calling. And so what I hear you say first is that I had to listen. And then after I listened, I had to discern. Then I had to make a decision.
Yes.
And then once I had to make a decision, I had to make sure that that decision was lined up with what God had for me. And that took some people down this track of becoming a priest, but it led other people in other directions because they were discerning, is this really what I need to do? So listening, discerning, making a decision, sitting in the decision, and walking in it. Sounds like those were the steps that you took.
Yes.
To get there. And I think they are steps that many can take to make some decisions about what they choose to do with their lives. And that is what we do in higher education. We are trying to help people get into their space. Let's move a little bit to that. You have a lot of experience with education, specifically Catholic education. Let's talk a little bit about what do you hope for Catholic education, specifically in Pittsburgh, in our region, in the area that you're responsible for? What's your greatest hopes?
Well, my greatest hopes are that the students will, as they're discerning their call, recognize the presence of God in the lives of other people, and that they'll use their gifts and their talents to serve the needs of others. So whether it's in nursing or computer tech or whatever, to recognize what they're doing is helping another person on their journey, and to recognize it in serving that other person or working with that other person, that they're actually serving and working with the Lord. And I feel when they do that, that then they have a better appreciation of God's presence in their own life and how they're fulfilling the call that the Lord has for them. And that's what's going to bring them true joy, true happiness in their life.
Yes.
The church for 2,000 years has always promoted the sanctity of life. And so I'm hoping that through Catholic education, that they'll be able to recognize how precious life is. And in respecting that life, be able to continue to build up the body of Christ.
And so as people who are teachers and professors and administrators like me, what do you think we should be doing? What should we be aiming for?
Well, recognizing the dignity that exists in the lives of other people. And, Carlo's so blessed because you have the foundation of the Sisters of Mercy. When Bishop O'Connor brought the sisters here, back in the 1800s, I think he knew what he was doing. They were strong women who over in Ireland cared for especially the less fortunate, people who were poor, that couldn't afford an education or couldn't afford care. The sisters worked with them and provided them what they needed. And when they came to this country, they had the same charism, and the 2 pillars that the Sisters of Mercy seem to emphasize were their social concerns and then their education. So establishing, Mercy Hospital, where they cared, for the soldiers in the Civil War or for other people who are in need. For years, they ran St. Paul Orphanage, which is where the Pastoral Center is now located in Crafton. So they used their charism to help care for people who were underprivileged or poor. And then in education, not just Carlo or Mercy College as it was prior, but in our elementary schools and our high schools, their presence there, they were committed to making sure that students knew the faith and that they would exercise it in their works of mercy and charity towards other people. So I think Carlo benefits from that because that's your foundation. And so you emphasize that to the students, and you can see that that's what they're receiving. But one of your advantages of Carlo is your size. It is not a huge, large university where somebody can get lost. I know when I walked in the door, people knew everybody's name. There's no stranger here. Everyone's a family member. And because of that, you're able to emphasize the importance of the person. You're able to address their needs. You're able to help them to excel in their gifts and to be able to deal with any challenges they might have so that they're less challenging. So the size of the school really helps you to live out your mission.
It does. I'm so glad that you noticed that, because one of the things that I say to the prospective students, if you come to Carlo, we're going to love you. We're not just going to care about you. We're going to love you. And that's a very different level than care, right? Care, I'm just making sure you're okay. Loving you means I'm going to make sure you're okay, but I'm going to be connected to you, and I am connected to your success. So I'm glad that you can feel it and see it, because it's what we try to live here every day. So we talk a lot about creating students, developing students who are committed to creating a more just and merciful world. We say it all the time. We say it so much that I'm privileged to hear the students say it back to me. And this is a tough time to have that as your mission, as the work that you do. It is the work that, as you've already so beautifully described, it's the work that the sisters came to do here. And we continue to do that work. It's one of the reasons why I came to Carlo, because we're so committed to creating a more just and merciful world for everybody. Talk to me a little bit about how you see the church's role in creating a more just and merciful world.
Well, as you say, we live in a time that there are situations all around the world that we need to be aware of. And I think the church, certainly is aware of them, but we don't necessarily bring that to the forefront of people's minds, that there is an injustice going on and it needs to be addressed. And one person can't do it, but collectively we can. I know just from attending various bishops' meetings now that that's always in the forefront of our conversations. We see what's going on. How can we respond to that and assist people? And I believe Carlo University does the same thing, that you're making the students aware of situations that are in the world and how they can respond to that. And so, the education they're receiving here certainly gives them the tools that they need to understand what's going on, and avenues that they can do using their own gifts and talents to help to alleviate the situation, or to work collectively with other groups to be able to address whatever the needs might be in that situation.
Yes. It's an interesting time to be at a time where we are challenged by language we use. We're challenged by who's getting served and who's not getting served, by children being treated harshly. But in spite of all of it, we have to continue to do the work. And if you were going to encourage people to not give up, to continue on this road, what would you say?
First off, not to give up, to keep pursuing, because sometimes we get discouraged and we just figure, let somebody else do it, or
Right.
I can't. And then we walk away from something that might be challenging, but doesn't mean it's not obtainable. So that would be the first thing, is not to give up, to keep pursuing. Also, not to think that everything depends upon themselves. We live in a world, there's other peoples who work with others who might be similar visioned, and can use their gifts and their talents to build a stronger force to addressing whatever the needs might be. But then also to look at the fruit, the victories of what you've accomplished. And they might be small and they might be large, but every single one of those is important, because if it's addressing a need, it's helping somebody on their own journeys. And so a lot of times we don't recognize the good that we're doing.
Yes, absolutely. I think that is so true. If you can step back and say, it's really hard, but look at all that we've been able to accomplish, which gives you the courage to say, we can keep doing this. And we have to keep taking care of our brothers and sisters, no matter who they are, no matter where they are, if we are indeed going to get to our end goal, and that is to create a more just and a more merciful world on the other side. So I'm sure as taking on this new role, anytime you get a new role, there's always ideas that you have about what you'll do in that new role. And talk to us a little bit about that new role, and talk to us about what you hope that you're able to accomplish in this new role. And then, how can Carlo help you?
So my first thing I plan on doing as bishop is listening. As I said before, you have to listen to know what direction to move. So very soon I'll be starting to meet with priests in the various regions where they're stationed throughout the diocese, just to hear what their concerns are and how I can be of assistance to them. Because there's a lot of experience out there, and if they're heard, many times we can accomplish things that we didn't think were possible. So that's my first step. My second step is going to be, after the first of the year, going out to all the parishes and listening to their advisory councils and seeing where they are. But particularly, I'm going to ask them, what are they doing to live out the works of mercy? Because my Episcopal model is to serve in faith and charity. So the works of mercy, the spiritual works of mercy, and the corporal works of mercy are dear to my heart. I feel that if we can live those out more fruitfully, then we're building God's kingdom. So we have a lot that goes on in the diocese already. I don't think people are aware of that. And so I'd like to bring that up to the forefront and see how we could do those things better. And if we're not doing things in particular areas of the diocese, how can we do that? Not so much every parish individually, but working collectively as a group. So whether it's operating food banks or having areas for clothing pickups, educating, people in the faith, supporting people in their times of grief, visiting people who might be imprisoned, all the works of mercy, whether it's spiritual or corporal, trying to live them out.
Yeah.
So that's my vision, and
It's good.
the priests I can handle in about 6 months. The parishes are going to take about a year for me to be able to visit every parish and to get the information that I think will help us to build a plan and to work together. Yeah. So where Carlo, of course, can come into play with that is continuing, first off, what you're doing, because I said you have a great foundation. So, that in itself is a good starting point. But then, I know your students already participate in some works of charity that you do in the campus ministry and through different outlets at the university, to make that better known, because half the time people will support you, but they don't even know you're doing it. I can give I give an example up in Butler area. They have a community dinner every single week. All the churches work together, the Catholic and the non-Catholic, and they've been doing this for probably 35 years.
Wow.
Nobody knows about it. So we need to let people know that. And then how can we pattern that in other areas of the diocese? Because they'll tell you it's not hard or difficult. It's just coordinating. And it's so beneficial to the community. Throughout our diocese, we have diaper drives and we have food drives and clothing drives, but they're not coordinated, so those are great assistance to people who are in need. On the university level, that can happen as well. I know once in a while you probably have a blood drive, or you have some type of maybe you have a diaper drive. I'm not sure. But when the students realize that they can make a difference, that helps as well.
Absolutely.
And as they go back into the community, they're going to bring those abilities with them as well. And that's just going to strengthen our communities across the Pittsburgh area.
Absolutely. Making sure people know about the work that we're doing, I do think is important, because it also encourages them too. We do have a food bank here right on campus that we serve not only our students, but also the greater community, as well as we do some of those other items that you discussed. But how do people know that? Because I do think that might be good. So something else that that has been done in the past is Bishop Zubik met with all of the higher education leaders on a quarterly basis, I believe we met. And is that something you'll continue? And if you continue it, what do you hope will come from it?
Well, yes, I do plan on continuing that.
I'll keep it on my calendar.
Great. I taught high school for 6 years.
Right.
So academics is very important to me, and the higher education is very important to me as well. But I will do the same thing I'm doing with my parishes. I'll listen first.
Okay.
What are your needs? How can the diocese assist you in living those out? So that would be my first thing. And then my question back would be, what works of mercy are you doing? And so, and if you're not doing anything, well, let's start brainstorming and come up with something. If you are, how can we make that stronger? The universities, we have 3 Catholic universities in the diocese, but I don't know how often you do things collaboratively. And so that might be an area to pursue as well.
Yes.
Might not be possible, but if we don't look at it, we'll never know.
Right. I agree. And I'd be extremely supportive of us thinking about how we could do more things together, and how we could serve our students and really heighten our student. I know my time is waning, but I have to ask you this one other question because it's something that I struggle with. And that is, I really struggle with getting young people to Mass. And I've got a lot of tricks up my sleeve to get them there. But but can you talk to me a little bit about what do you think we should be doing to really get this next generation energized about coming to service and being a part of it and being active?
Well, just recently in the Pittsburgh area, a new group was formed for young Catholic professionals. And their inaugural meeting, they had almost 500 people attend.
That's great.
It was phenomenal. They never expected it to take off that well, and they're really starting to progress. So they have ways of attracting folks to Mass and participating in the community. So I would first off try to tap off of some of their ideas because they're young people, so they know what will work. Pizza after Mass always works. It's always a good incentive.
Sister Sheila bakes cookies. That draws them. That would
be a good thing, and I've had her cookies. They're very good.
Yes, they are.
One of the things I know the diocese can do to help support you is by trying to get a chaplain here who is energetic and has the charism that would attract them as well.
Yeah.
We have a problem only because there obviously is a shortage of priests.
Right.
And unfortunately, not that many of the younger ones live close to this part of the city.
And we've been really fortunate. Last year, we had 2 young priests.
Yes.
They were phenomenal.
Yes.
And I love them dearly, and I hope they return.
I'm not in the clergy office anymore, so I'm not sure, but I know there's another young one that's been stationed close by. So we certainly can tap on him.
That's great. That's great to know. Well, I have truly enjoyed my conversation with you, and I'm going to give you the last word. And I want you to tell the community, here's something you should know about me.
Well, I'm an introvert, so I never talk about myself. That's what they should know about me. I'm excited to be the next bishop, as Bishop Zubik says, number 13. I'm starting to feel like I'm an episode of Get Smart.
Yes.
But I'm just interested in listening to the folks and being with them. I always just wanted to be a parish priest. So my life will be, as much as possible, spent in the parish. I will let the staff do the administration stuff because that's what they're hired to do.
Right.
But I'm just excited to be able to be with the people, to work with them, and to help them to grow closer to the Lord.
Wonderful. Thank you again for being with me today. And I look forward to working with you out in the future, and congratulations.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.